One of the biggest difficulties that intermediate and even advanced learners have when it comes to learning English is knowing when to use present simple and present continuous. A lot of times students will use present continuous too much when they should use instead present simple. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the difference between present simple and present continuous, give you an easy way to understand how to use them, and hopefully improve your understanding of which situations in which to use either one of these tenses. Hello everyone, my name is Dave. Welcome to Just Say It English, my website and my YouTube channel to help you improve your English language skills. If you can, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the subscribe button below, and every week I will be putting out 1 or 2 videos per week about English grammar, English vocabulary, or other things with English to help you improve your English language skills. And if you're interested in taking one-on-one lessons with me, I am a professional English teacher, Cambridge certified with over 5,000 hours of teaching English. Please go down below and go to my website, justsayitenglish.com, or you can go to my italki page, which is also linked there as well. So let's go ahead and start with the video today. Before we start, there are 2 things that I want you to know about this video because it will help you understand present simple a little bit more in these specific situations. The first thing is that we are only talking about present simple and present continuous. We are not talking about past simple and past continuous, and we're not talking about any of the perfect tenses. These only apply to present simple and present continuous. Those other tenses we will use for another video, but for today, we're only going to talk about present simple and present continuous. The second thing is that we are only talking about present simple and present continuous when it is being used as one verb. We are not going to talk about it when it is used with another verb. For example, while I was driving my car, I hit a tree. These are 2 verbs working together, driving a car, hitting a tree. We're not talking about those situations. Instead, we're just talking about very simple sentences where we're only using one verb to describe something. It has nothing to do with multiple verbs. That is a different situation where the rules can be changed a little bit in those. All right, so let's go on to the video. We are going to start with present continuous first because it is easier to explain present continuous sometimes compared to present simple. What is the best way to think of present continuous? This is what I believe is the best way to look at how to understand present continuous. Present continuous is one action or process that starts at a specific time and is expected to finish in the future. What does this mean? This means that we had one thing, and in understanding present continuous, one action or one process is very important, okay? We have a time where we started something and we expect to finish it in the future. Right now, I am making a video, okay? So this video is one video. I'm recording at one time. I started this video when I pressed the little record button, and I will eventually and expected to end this video when I hit the record button. So there is a known time where something starts and something is expected to end, and this is when we would use continuous. We can do this not just with an action, but with a process as well. I have a book here, and I can say I am reading this book about Canadian politics. In this example, I'm not reading the book, doing the action of reading the book at this moment. No, I'm talking to you, I'm making the video. But with this book, I started to read this book in the past, and I eventually expect to finish reading this book in the future. So in this situation, we do have one book that we want to complete. The process of starting to read it was in the past, and we expect to finish it in the future. All right, let's move to present simple. And you will see a little bit of difference between present simple and present continuous, and maybe this will help you. This is the definition I have for present simple to help you understand it. Present simple is 1, a fact that is true and does not have an expected time to finish. Number 2, if there are actions, they are unique to each other. And 3, it is true now. We talk about how each action is unique, but most important, it doesn't have an expected time to finish. Okay, let me give you the example that I had earlier about this book. Right? I said, I am reading a book about Canadian politics, and that is true. I started reading this book in the past, and I expect to finish it in the future. This specific book. But I have this book about Canadian politics, 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 and if you were wondering, my master's degree from McGill University was in Canadian politics. That's why I have all these books. I like books about Canadian politics, so I always read books about Canadian politics. The process for me is never going to end. If there is a new book about Canadian politics, I will read that book about Canadian politics. So there you go. I read books about Canadian politics because it's not a process that has a start and an expected finish. It is a process that will be continuing throughout my life. And if it does end, I don't expect it to end. It just ends maybe because of something. It's not an expected ending. But let's change this up a little bit with another example I have with these 3 books about the Civil War. So you can see this is an old Civil War set. This is about 30 years old, this set. And I have been wanting to read this set for a long time, but I haven't. Let me give you an example with this. Now, in this set, we have multiple books, right? We have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 books. But you can see they're in a set. So we have 3 books, but they are in a set. And I want to read this set of books, right? And if I want to complete, go from here to the end, that's going to be a process, right? That's going to be a process where we start reading book number 1 on page 1, and we eventually finish on book number 3 at the end of the book. In this situation, I can say I am reading books about the Civil War, because in this situation where I have 3 books about the Civil War, the process is expected to finish. I expect to finish when I get to the end of this book. That's when I expect to finish this process. But when it comes to Canadian politics, I read Canadian political books in general. I don't have a specific start and finish. I have these books here, but then I might do another book and another book and another book about Canadian politics. I might continue to add more books. This is a process with a start and a finish. This is continuous. This is present simple. There you go. I'm going to give you some examples, and I want you to tell me, is this example correct or not correct? Our first example is, I like John a lot. Is that correct to be put in present simple? It is. You say, I like John a lot. Like is a word that we usually don't put in continuous tense. We can, but you need to know how to use it really well. But in this situation, we say, I like John a lot. You don't expect this situation to ever change. Now, I gave you that very rare situation where we can use it in continuous form. We can say, for example, I am liking this movie. That means that you started watching the movie, and eventually this movie is going to finish, and your mind might change during that time. So you might hear people say, I'm really liking this movie. And that means I'm really liking this movie right now. I'm through this process. The movie is going to end. And once the movie is finished, then you would say, I liked that movie. because you're no longer in the process of watching the movie anymore. The movie is finished. And now in this situation, you put it in past simple to give your opinion on it. Or you could just say, I liked that movie because it is your general opinion. And that's the difference between present simple and past simple that I didn't want to talk about in this video. That's another video for another day. All right, next example. I know how to fix a computer. I know how to fix a computer. So let's ask ourselves, is this a process that we are expecting to end in the future? No, it's simple. So simple tense is absolutely fine here because it is some knowledge that we have that we expect to have forever. We don't expect for that knowledge to stop. You can't stop having knowledge about something. You can't, unless you get hit in the head by something and lose your memory, you can't really remove something from your knowledge or from your memory, which is the reason why knowing is never put in continuous form. So we never put know in continuous form. If you see knowing, as I just said, it's being used as a gerund. It's not being used as continuous form. Bill is flying to Mexico. So Bill is flying to Mexico. Is this correct? Yeah, it's correct. It's continuous form because Bill gets on a flight. There's a definite start time. He is expected to finish that flight by arriving in Mexico or some other dubious result. But it is one action that is happening from a start to finish point. So we use this in a continuous form. We wouldn't say Bill fly to Mexico or Bill flies with the conjugation to Mexico. That is not correct. All right, our next example. I work in a factory. Okay, now this is a simple fact that we don't expect to end, right? We don't expect this fact to end. It's just I work in a factory and I do not have an expected finish time. I could retire. I could work there the rest of my life, right? That's a possibility, but we don't expect it to end. So that makes it more of a fact than it does a focus on an action or a process. Now, let's go ahead and read our next example because this is where it can get a little confusing. I am working in a factory. So this one is correct as well. This is a correct sentence. This focuses more on the action and on the process that started at the beginning and ends at some time in the past. But what should you use? If I ask you a question about your employment, should you say, I work in a factory or I am working in a factory? Both of these are correct, but which one would be more appropriate? Well, let me go ahead and give you the question that I would actually ask you if I want to know this information. I would ask you, where do you work? Right? I asked you a present simple question. Where do you work? In this situation, you would say, I work in a factory. This is the most common way. If I ask you, where are you working? I probably would add to that sentence, where are you working now? This indicates that I know you worked somewhere else in the past. I know at this moment you're working in another place. And in the future, I might expect that you're going to work somewhere else. So if I ask you, where are you working? It indicates that I know that you made some change in a job, that you're starting a new process here of working in a new place. But if I just ask you, where do you work? This is just factual information. With that being said, I want to give you a little bit of a hint when it comes to this. If you have a difficult time trying to understand if you're in one of these situations, do I use present simple or do I use present continuous when I can really use both at the same time, like the word work, always go with present simple. So if something can be answered with present simple, just answer it with present simple. If you need to talk about a start and an eventual expected finish, then use present continuous. only use perfect tense if you need to use perfect tense to really explain when something started. Now, that's one thing I have mentioned a lot in these videos. I said with continuous tense, something that starts in the past and we expect it to finish in the future. But I haven't mentioned perfect tense once. Why? Because in perfect tense, we put when we started something, right? I have worked in this company for 10 years. I have been working in this factory for 5 years. In this situation, with the perfect tense, we add that 5 years or 10 years or since some time to indicate really when the time starts. But with continuous form, we don't talk about when we started. We just know the process started. We don't identify it. We don't call it anything. And now, with perfect tense, it's between here and now. With present continuous, it's sometime in the past and then some expected time in the future. All right, I hope this helped you understand a little bit more about present simple and present continuous. Remember, present continuous, an action that started in the past, we expect it to finish in the future, or a process in that same situation. Present simple is something that is factual information and doesn't have an expected end time, right? I read books about Canadian politics. I don't expect to finish that. I am reading books about the Civil War. I expect to finish that. All right, so I hope this helped you out a lot. Have a wonderful day. Remember to subscribe to my channel. If you're interested in taking lessons, please go ahead and register at the link below. And I am looking forward to helping you with your English language journey. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.